Hey team, so I wanted to start off by just saying welcome to our eventing team, welcome to the page. What I'm going to be doing is putting out a informative video once a month for you, and that'll go up onto our Facebook page, and it's going to be a range of different videos, everything from different training tips, horse management, horse health, horse fitness, rider health and fitness, and even preparing yourself mentally for competition and for training. So there's going to be lots of good stuff to come, so make sure you stay tuned and keep your eyes peeled at the start of every month for the new videos coming out. Today what I'm going to be doing is showing you what I put into my trusty medical bag. So this bag is something I have with me at home. It goes with me whenever I'm traveling to competitions, to lessons, clinics, even going to the vets. I would take this with me because horses, as we know, they're rather unpredictable animals and like to get themselves into little sticky situations. So I like to be prepared and have everything I need to make sure I can deal with situations if my horses get injured. So what I'm going to do is show you what's in here, and you can then go and get yourself a nice good box. I like this bag because it's easy to carry around and it's got lots of cool little pockets. So firstly, up the back here, you'll see I've got everything I need to be able to put a shoe on or take a shoe off a horse. I've also got my hoof testers here. So if I have a horse come up lame and I think it's in the foot, so I've tested their pulse and they've got a pulse, I think it's in the foot, I'll use these hoof testers to work out whereabouts in the foot they may have an abscess, and then I can go from there. So yeah, we've got everything to either put on or take off a shoe. Even if you don't know how to put on or take off a shoe, this sort of stuff is handy to take with you to competitions, because sometimes you'll get to a competition, your horse will pull a shoe, and there may not be an actual designated farrier on site, even though there's meant to be. A lot of times you get to a competition and there isn't. So if you've got this stuff, you can go and then find someone's partner, husband, anyone that you know who is a farrier, and you've got the gear to then give to them so they can help you put the shoe back on. So I find it really handy to have. I then also always have with me a hoof pick. You want to be able to clean out your horse's feet if there's a problem. If you're down in the paddock and they come up a little bit lame, it's good to just be able to clean them out and have a look at what's going on in the foot. In here, I've got just some Ziploc bags. You never know when you might need a sample of poo or anything like that to be able to give to your farrier if something's looking a little bit off. So I like to have these handy with me. In the front here, I've got with me a notepad and some pens. So I like to document everything. If I have a horse come up who's not looking quite right, I'll write down the time, the horse, their temperature, their heart rate, their respiratory rate, all of that information I need, I'm keeping recorded so that when the vet comes, that's all there for them and I can tell them exactly what's happened and when. We'll then go into my bag. And so there's a real range of stuff. This tub here is just full of nails so that I can put a shoe back on if I need to. I've then got this vet wrap and Elastoplast so that I can wrap a horse up if they've cut themselves. I can take care of that and make sure that the wound is well looked after. I've got a whole heap of animal Lintex in here. This one's open because I've used it, but this is really good to put on for a poultice. If they've got a bit of an abscess, you can put it on the foot. It'll help draw out a poultice, but you can also use it on any wounds and it helps to draw stuff out. So it's really good. You can get it from Horseland. and that's very handy to have. Now this here, this Dacron leg wrap poultice, this is one of my favorite things. I always make sure I've got lots of this in here. It's a it's non-swabbable, it's all natural. If your horse comes up with a little bit of bruising, bit of swelling, even a little cut or even a splint, you just put this on and then you wrap it with a normal pad and bandage, and it draws out all that inflammation, all the heat, helps to heal wounds. It's fabulous. And if you're at an event, you obviously can't be giving them any drugs or anything that's going to be swabbable, so this is a really great tool to have. Also available at Horseland. In here we've then thanks Mum. We've then also got some spray. So I've used chloramide. That's just a antiseptic spray, so you can clean up the cut and then pop some of this on. That's going to help with any infections and that sort of thing. I then like to always have saline solution with me. It's good for rinsing out cuts, but it's also really good for rinsing out eyes. If you have a horse come in with a bit of a weepy or swollen eye and they may have a grass seed or a bit of a cut in there, that's really good just to rinse it out and help flush out that eye. We've then got this. So this is something I've started using recently. It's basically like that arnica rub that you can get for yourself. So it's a magnesium muscle rub, and I put it on joints, muscles. I use it after I ride, but it's also really handy to have if you have a horse that looks like they might be a little bit tight, a little bit stiff. This is great to put on to help them. Here I've got DMSO. This is something that's quite hard to find, but it's what I put on splints. So if a horse comes up with a splint, I use a toothbrush. Make sure you've got gloves on because it's not good to get on your skin. But I use a toothbrush, dump it in, and then rub it on the horse's splint, and it helps just to heal that up. In here, I've also got just a nice big roll of cotton wool. Good to put on any cuts that you have before you put on the Elastoplast and the vet wrap. And then I've also got these really handy gauze swabs. So they're great for cleaning a wound, so you can put them in your iodine wash and use them to rinse out a wound. But they're also really good to put under. So if you don't want to use cotton wool, if you're worried about if you've had a horse deglove itself or something like that and you don't want the cotton wool to stick, you can use these gauze swabs, which won't actually stick to the wound. They'll just sit underneath the vet wrap and Elastoplast and help that. You can put a bit of cream on, that sort of thing underneath. Then we've also got a big roll of Glad wrap in here. This comes really in handy. So if you are needing to cool a horse down with ice or anything like that, or you may even be using a poultice and wanting to put some wet newspaper, that sort of thing on, the Glad wrap comes in really handy with getting things to stick. So it's good just to have. We've then also got a whole range of syringes and needles. So this is only needed if you've got stuff to actually give your horse. If you've got the penicillin or anything like that with you. But it is good to have some of these big syringes. So you can get them from in at Horseland, and they're just good to be able to give electrolytes, Dynavites, anything that you need to put orally. They're really handy to have. Then probably the most important thing to have in your medical box but on your property is thermometers. Okay, I always make sure that I have 2 everywhere with me. So you'll find them in my tie-ups, you'll find them in my Fat Max, you'll find them in here, you'll find them in my truck. I have them everywhere. They're really handy. Always make sure you have 2. So if I take my horse's temperature, and it comes back a little bit odd, it's a bit odd for them, I'll then take it again with the other thermometer just to make sure that this one wasn't broken. So always make sure you've got two. I then have these handy little wipes, which I then wipe off just so I'm not spreading any contamination between horses. So they're just a little alcohol wipe just to wipe down the end. Obviously we're putting in their bum, you want to make sure it's nice and clean afterwards. Then some iodine, really important to have. If you're needing to wash a wound, this is what you want to wash it with. Make sure you dilute it with water, obviously. You don't want it too strong. But yeah, it's going to clean the wound, get rid of any nasties. And white healer and Manuka honey. So if I have a horse cut itself, I'll either put white healer or Manuka honey on. Manuka honey I'll only use if I'm wrapping it because it does attract ants. So you only want to put it on if you're going to then wrap the wound. Otherwise, I'll put white healer on, which is very good as well. These are just fabulous to have. One of my other great things to have is witch hazel. I think you can get it from your local chemist, but it's really good to put on sore muscles. So if a horse comes in a little bit stiff, you can just rub it over their loins, that sort of thing, just to hopefully loosen them up. I also always have some electrical tape with me. You never know when this is going to come in handy, but it is very, very handy to have. One of the other really important things, and probably the last thing that I've got in here, is my stethoscope. So we've got to be able to know our horse's heart rate. We've got to be able to listen to what their lungs are sounding like, even listening to their gut noises. If you have a horse come in, it's looking a little bit off, make sure you're taking its heart rate, you're taking its temperature, and you're just keeping on top of any little things that may come up. Now, obviously, having all this equipment doesn't take away from calling your vet. If there's something seriously wrong with your horse, you need to be calling your vet, but take these first steps so that you can decrease the rehabilitation time and hopefully help your horse to the best of your ability. All right, if you have any questions, make sure you leave them in the comments. Thanks, guys.